Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ride On Motorcycle Podcast, sponsored by BrakeFree. I'm your host, Jogo, and in this episode, we have a very special guest. He's ridden cross country on his motorcycle to raise money for our vets, owns one of the most iconic motorcycle campgrounds in the United States, and one of the most influential content creators on YouTube, motorcyclist and philanthropist Adam Sandoval. Can't wait to bring him on. But before we do, just a couple quick announcements. First on the list, as I mentioned in the intro, this stream is sponsored by BrakeFree. If you don't know who they are, they're a company that makes a brake light for your helmet. Doesn't require any wires, no Bluetooth. You just simply mount it to the back of your helmet and it just works. I'll give you a little more info on that here in a bit. And then last on the list, if you haven't joined my Facebook group, go ahead and join. Share some stuff that I usually don't share on YouTube and Instagram, and it's just a great community. Just search Jogo Motorcycle Adventures on Facebook and join. Love to have you in there. All right, now with all that out of the way, let's bring in Adam. But if you've watched the podcast regularly, you know we have to bring him in, right? So let's roll the intro. On Adam.
Man, happy to be on your podcast, Jogo. What an intro, dude. That was awesome. Thank you for that.
No problem. I do that for all my guests. So,
Well, that takes work.
yes, sir. So before we start, I just want to go ahead and see who we got here in the comments. We got Lee Sturgis. He's always about an hour and a half early. We have Russell McDonald that's always here. My wife, Alicia. And then we also have Greg, Jimmy the Bull, Andy Schultz, one of my moderators. Be the boss of your motorcycle showed up.
Yeah, man.
And SS Goldwing. So, all right. So we're just going to roll into it right away, right here into the first question. It's kind of silly asking this, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into riding motorcycles and a little bit about your YouTube channel.
All right, man. So I started riding motorcycles at a young age. As a kid, I had a Trail 70, was my first motorcycle. And, just my first street bike was, I was 18 years old and I had a Katana 600. And that was my first street bike. Rode that all over the place for years. Always dreamt of having a Harley. Got my first Harley, which was my first cruiser, when I was probably 28 and maybe 29. And it was an old lowrider. It was a 1989 lowrider. And then from there, man, once I got the cruiser bug, man, I just started dreaming of taking road trips and touring. And that was the name of the game for me. I started taking small trips at first, and then I went through a horrible divorce, and I said, you know what? I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to get on the back of my bike, and I'm going to live homeless touring the country, trying to raise money for veterans. And that is a really condensed version of how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That's one thing that stood out with me is like you lived on the road for how long was that? About a year or so?
5 years.
5 years. Holy smokes. Okay,
Yeah.
so a lot longer than I thought. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
5
insane.
years. My first trip living on the road was I wanted to be the first person to ride to every Harley Davidson dealership in America. So that was 702 dealerships. It took me coast to coast 14 times, north to south 9, and I logged about 88,000 miles on that trip. And that was 20 months. That took me 20 months straight to complete that. And then I just stayed on for another 3 years after that, just traveling and documenting my adventures and finding rad people and places and trying to make a difference in the world.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So your YouTube channel, it's just Adam Sandoval. How did that come about?
So YouTube, I was slow to YouTube. I started out on Facebook. I did
Okay.
Facebook for years, and then people told me I need to start doing YouTube. So I started a YouTube channel, and I was very slow uploading to it at first. I think I started YouTube in I probably opened my channel right away, but I started posting to it probably in 16, 17. I probably started posting to YouTube, and I started traveling full time in 2014. So
Wow. That's awesome. Full time traveling on the motorcycle. That's the dream right there,
it
man.
was a wild adventure, man. Absolutely wild adventure.
I bet. So you kind of already answered question number 2 a bit. How long you've been riding, and what exactly got you into riding motorcycles?
My uncle, man, my uncle Wayne, rest in peace, Uncle Wayne. So he would show up to family reunions, weddings, things like that on an old Harley Springer, and he would be all sunbeaten, and he had long hair, and his wife would be on the back, and he'd come rolling into the party, and I was just a little kid. I just remember looking at him and being like, "Oh my God, one day I'm going to be like my Uncle Wayne." So my dad and my uncle are both half Hispanic. They're both half Mexican. So I'm one quarter Mexican. But so he got a lot darker than I do, and he had the darker features, and he'd just pull up, and it was just like, as a kid, I just remember thinking, man, my Uncle Wayne is like the coolest guy alive. To this day, I dream of owning a Springer because of my Uncle Wayne.
Yeah, no. Would he go on long trips like that on that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a member of a club. We won't talk about what club today, but he was a member of a club, and he traveled all over the country on his motorcycle, and it was cool. Like he'd ride in across the country to family reunions from like Kentucky to Wisconsin. It
Holy
was pretty neat.
smokes. Yeah, it's nothing compared to riding cross country now, like on the road glides and the street glides, and you got all this comfort. Man, he
Big
was just
difference. Yeah.
he was just chugging along on that thing.
Man, it was a different thing back then. I talked to a guy a long time ago, and he said, I said, man, all the old bikers, y'all had this reputation for being grumpy and mean and like tough and all this. And he says, man, we weren't grumpy or mean. He said, we were just hurting so bad. We just wanted
Yeah,
to get to the bar and get a shot of whiskey because these bikes ride like crap. He said, he
right.
said, we weren't grumpy or mean. We were just in a lot of pain. I said, oh, well, all right.
Yeah, I mean, some people actually like that. Some people like to ride a motorcycle where they actually feel the road. They don't want the soft suspension or anything like that. I'm complete opposite. I want to be a little comfortable while I'm on the road.
Yeah, man.
Let's see what we got here in the comments here. We had one quick question. All right, we'll go ahead and skip that. I thought I saw a question, but not. Realtors on a Harley says the legend, super nice, down to earth guy. Great experience riding with him. Heard he's doing the Great American Convoy again next year.
Yes. I mean, I can't release a ton of details yet because I'm still negotiating some stuff. But
Mm,
yeah, I've committed. I'm doing it every year, not on as big of a scale. I'm not going to go
mm,
out, 4 months, 3 months every year. I'm going to try to do it a little bit. Here's what I can tell you. My goal is to
okay.
make it shorter, like 3-4 weeks, in hopes
Mm,
that more people can go from start to end. It will go coast to coast across the country every year, and it will end at a major motorcycle event every year. Those are my goals. And of course, it'll be to raise money for veterans every year. Um, Whether it'll be the same charity every year, that's still something we're thinking about. Whether or not it will be on the same brand of motorcycle every year is something we're still discussing. Um, we may mix it up. We're still working out some details, but the answer is yes. I am committed. I am going to do a convoy where people can join me, and my goal is to every year ride a bike in the convoy and then give it away to somebody who joins it. Um, that takes a lot to make that happen, and I'm working on it, but I'm sure we'll accomplish it. And every year I'll ride a bike and then give that bike away to one person who showed up and supported the cause.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That idea, as soon as I heard that idea, and that's pretty much how I discovered you, was with that Great American Convoy, just seeing what you were doing out there, man. Just absolutely amazing. So then this will lead us into question number 3 about the Great American Convoy. And for those of you that don't really know what it is, I put together a little video of Adam on the convoy. So we'll go ahead and roll that and move into question number 3.
Today is the day I leave this beautiful home I built last year for a 3-month road trip, raising money for our nation's heroes and the Wounded Warrior Project. This trip's gonna take me like 20 to 30,000 miles across the country, hitting all 48 states to 120 Harley-Davidson dealerships. My ride is this beautiful anniversary edition Harley-Davidson. Absolutely stoked. Their parking lot is jammed up with a bunch of motorcycles and people here to raise some money for the Wounded Warrior Project. Y'all have got to see the size of this convoy. It wraps all the way down there, runs all the way back out there, comes back around, filling both sides of their parking lot. This is a crazy day. All right, yeah. Look at you all. Yes, ma'am. High five. Yes. Oh. Do we have a total?
$25,183.
$25,183 this morning. Absolutely unbelievable. $1,000 from Jeff, man. Thank you so much. And with a gentleman who put in $7,500 in today, we did $10,153.
Please welcome to the stage, Adam Sandoval!
I'm going to donate a check to the Wounded Warrior Project that was raised by not me, but by us. All of you riding your motorcycles across all 48 states, visiting 120 Harley-Davidson dealerships, and this is what we were able to put together in 84 days across America for our Wounded Warrior Project. That check says $591,538. But in my vest here, I have something. And I talked to my buddy Dave over here, and we decided that was an odd number. So him and I decided we're gonna put in whatever the difference is, and I'm gonna go ahead and write in here $600,000. And that, my friends, is what we're giving to help our veterans.
The Great American Convoy raised over $500,000 for our vets. I mean, it's mind-boggling that you were able to do that all while riding a motorcycle. It's fantastic.
The community, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Motorcycle communities like none other. So for question number 3 here, what inspired you to create the Great American Convoy?
Well, it would have to be my first trip to every Harley-Davidson dealership, right? I rode every dealership in the country, like I said earlier. There was a very long trip, and I wanted to do something similar for Harley-Davidson's 120th anniversary. So, Harley-Davidson came to me and said they'd like me to put together a program to, celebrate 120 years of Harley-Davidson. And I said, okay, I'll do it, but it has to involve charity. And they said, you design whatever you want to design, bring it to us. If it makes sense, we'll do it. So I designed that program, and we ran with it. So it was really inspired by my first tour, because that was such a success. And I just wanted to get across country again, man. I wanted to go on a long road trip again. I wanted to connect with riders all over the country that I hadn't seen in years. And I wanted to make a difference. And man, I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Like, I felt, when I did my first tour, there wasn't a lot of people on YouTube doing motorcycle stuff. I didn't even know there was a such thing as like making a living on social media. Like, I was just riding my motorcycle, trying to raise money for veterans. I was sharing my locations and my journey to try to get more people to show up to donate more money. I didn't even know there was a thing about getting online and making a living at this. And then uh, it blew up, and all these people started doing it. And I started feeling old, and I started feeling like out of touch. And it'd been a long time since I'd done anything that big, and I felt a little washed up, man. I felt wore out, and maybe not as relevant anymore. And I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And people just showed up and supported. I mean, you saw in your video there. Great job putting that together, by the way, man.
Thank you.
You saw all the people that just showed up and rallied with me and rode alongside me and helped raise money, and it blew my mind. It just really blew my mind.
Yeah, when you came out to Ohio to rock and roll, and then I met you at the Akron one. I think that's Hall of Fame now. It used to be Rubber Duck or something like that. But man, the amount of people that showed up, and it wasn't the greatest day either. There was rain, and then as you saw in the video, I mean, it didn't matter what the weather was. Adam was he had deadlines to make to get to all these stops. So, I mean, the amount of people that came out with crappy weather and the amount of money that people were donating, I was amazed, and I felt good that everybody was able to come together for a good cause, doing something that we love doing.
Yeah, man, it was awesome.
So, moving into question 4 here, what was your favorite part of the Great American Convoy?
Man, that's a tough question. I would say really it's the people, man. It's just the people. I met so many amazing people. They were all so kind and giving, and everybody wanted to help one another. And, somebody'd break down their bike and everybody come together and help them get it fixed. And, we try to figure out, food stops, because you're rolling with, a lot of times 150 bikes. How do you feed 150 people on a stop when you've got to be somewhere at another time? We only got an hour to eat, and we got 150 people, and figuring out how we could get that done and calling ahead. And just the people who showed up to help me, and showed up to support me, that 100%, it really made, I can't explain to you how good it made me feel. Like I really, like I said earlier, was feeling kind of washed up, and that really rejuvenated me to see all the people that really came out and helped me.
Yeah, and there was people of all walks of life. I mean, you had other content creators coming out. I wasn't that big, and I'm still not that big at that point. I don't really count myself, but you had Traveling Tall, Robert Simmons, Her Two Wheels, Full Throttle Hog. I mean, and then just your whole community. I'm pretty sure that there were some people that didn't know you and then found you like I did with the Great American Convoy, and we all just rallied together. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
And you actually had people that hopped onto the convoy, didn't plan on staying, and then they stayed for almost the entire time. The two from Canada, they pretty much they went back to Canada and then came back to the convoy to finish it out.
Twice.
Twice. Wow. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, so many people came for like, oh, I'm going to come for 3 days, and they end up staying for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was just infectious. Like, you got around all these people, and we're loading out the hotels, and we're figuring out routes, and we're figuring out, how to overcome problems, and collectively figuring out how can we raise more money, and how can we make the experience better for the people that show up. And we're like having meetings as we're on the road, tired from riding all day. And it was infectious. It became a family very fast.
Yeah, I got the pleasure of chatting with, I think his name was Shutterbug, was doing all the pictures and videos and stuff, posting it on Instagram. And he was telling me, he's like, I showed up for like a day or two, and then something just told me, you know what, I'm going to go a couple more days. And then he ended up finishing the whole thing out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
If I could have gotten the time off of work and got my wife on board, I probably would have done it too. But
next year it's only going to be 4 weeks, man.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Fair enough. So that was your favorite part. So obviously there's a lot of working pieces and schedules and stuff that you had to do. So question 5, What do you think the biggest challenge of the Great American Convoy was?
Well, that's a very clear answer for me. And it wasn't the things I would think it was. Like we rode like 60 plus days of rain. That was horrible. The orchestrating and the logistics was a big piece. But for me, the biggest challenge was making sure that I gave everybody who showed up my best every day, no matter how tired I got, no matter what was going on, making sure that everybody got heard. Sometimes the lines got long, and so many people had so many touching stories for me that were so important, and so many people shared so many heart-wrenching stories, man, of lost loved ones and soldiers and turmoil and health issues. And man, by far the hardest part for me was or the most challenging part was just staying positive and riding that emotional roller coaster, because you got a line of, let's just say, 100 people, and one person comes to you and tells you about the loss of a pet or a loved one or a health issue they're going through, and the very next person in line is telling you about how it's their first road trip and how they just got a motorcycle and they rode across country and they're having the time of their life. And then the next person's telling you something sad again, and trying to navigate that emotion, the emotional roller coaster, and trying to stay, just trying to keep that together, man. I mean, there were times, I'd have to go from literally crying, and I mean it literally. I can't tell you how many times I cried standing in that line with people, to celebrating. That was a challenge, man. That was something I did not expect. I was not prepared for, and I tried to make the most of it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, man,
Me
because
neither.
when you say hundreds of people that you talk to, it's probably closer to thousands, because there was a lot of people that showed
Yeah,
up.
100 in a
And
stop. I might, 150, 200 in a stop sometimes. I might have three stops a day.
right,
Sometimes, it could be 800 plus people a day. And, that's 800 plus stories. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for it emotionally. And it was so important to me to give everybody, the time. They took time out of their days to come out and
yeah,
support me on this. There's a million other things they could have done. And they came out and did this. And it was just important to me to try to touch each one of them, and listen to each one of them, and be present, and not be thinking about where we're eating lunch or where we're going next, or where our donations are, or where my social media channels are performing or not performing, or my sponsors, or trying to keep all of that just out of my head and just be present with the person standing in front of me. And then the stories changing from positive to negative like that. Whew, I never saw it coming. It
yeah,
was
that's got to
tough.
be tough. And I mean, you didn't rush anybody out of the line either.
I
The
tried
whole
not
time
to,
I was
man.
there, yeah, I know towards the last stop when you were going to the Harley Davidson anniversary rally, you did have to cut it short. But I mean, you can only do so much. You're only one person, but you definitely didn't rush people out of line, man. And I could just tell when I talk to you, you're such a genuine person. You're not posting videos just to get views and woo people or whatever. You just all around great guy, man.
Well, thank you for that. It's a life, man. I just share my life. It's just what it is. It is. I don't try to make it into something it's not. If I have a bad day, I share I'm having a bad day. I try to keep it positive, but that's me. I try to keep things positive.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, my channel from day one has just been me sharing what's happening in my life, and I want to keep it going that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's dive down into the comments real quick, see if we got anything good. T Hill says, "Hope you ride through New Mexico again. I was only to ride along for a couple 100 miles, but it was a big deal to contribute to our vets."
Thank you, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Zam Biker says, "Hey y'all." Let's see what else we got here. SS Goldwing says, "That is so awesome. Thank you, Adam."
Thank you, man.
Ken Grant, feeling like a I can't even say that word, Luddite, as we get older.
What does that mean?
I know Ken, we text back and forth. I had to look it up and I already forgot what that meant. So Ken, put it down in the comments there.
Yeah, we want to know what that means.
I can't remember. I literally just looked it up too. That's not a common word
Would
whatsoever.
it be rude if I look it up right here?
No, go for it. Go
All
for it.
right.
And I'll go through some more of these comments. Wesson Customs made it. He says, "What's up?"
Yeah, that's my boy.
All right. And then Russell McDonald says, "Is he going to do any work with the CVMA, Combat Veterans
Oh,
Motorcycle
man.
Association?"
I love the CVMA, and I've done a ton of work with the CVMA. In fact, we broke the Guinness Book World Record for the. Look at it, I even got it right. I got my. Look, I'm gonna show it to you.
All right.
I got it right here. We broke the Guinness Book World Record for the largest parade of Harley Davidsons, and it took me 4 attempts to break this record. And when we broke it, we raised money for veterans. Obviously, everything I do, I try to find a way to give back to veterans. And we raised, I think it was like $57,000 for the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association that day. But I raise for them every year. I donate to them personally. I do fundraising for them every year. I'm very close to the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association. They have taken me under their wing in so many states. When I was hungry, fed me. When I was sleeping on the streets and couldn't afford a hotel, and I'm sleeping next to my bike behind gas stations. They put me up in their homes. I've got one of the wildest stories of a combat vet motorcycle association guy named Ace, who took me into his home. He was a fighter pilot in Nam, and what a crazy night that was. And he said, they say about all of us Nam guys. I said, "What's that?" He says, "They say we're all alcoholics." I said, "Oh man," He said, "Well," he stopped me in the middle of my sentence, trying to, I didn't know what to say, and he stopped me in the middle. He says, "It's true." He's like, "You want a shot of whiskey?" I'm like, "Bring it on, man. Let's have some whiskey." We drank some whiskey together, and then my dad woke me up. I had a GPS tracker on at the time, and it malfunctioned and had me located in the middle of and if you Google this, it's online, had me located in the middle of a junkyard.
Oh my
And somebody
gosh.
that was following me knew I was supposed to be up in Michigan, I think it was, or maybe it was Minnesota, and it had me in a junkyard in like Iowa.
Oh no.
And so they called the police, and the police went and shut down the junkyard. And my dad called me, he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, and I was whiskey drunk, hungover. It was first thing in the morning. I'm like, "I don't know. I'm in some strange room." And because everything just became a blur. And he's like, "Okay, stay." He said, "Where's your bike?" I'm like, "Well, I think it's in the garage." He's like, "Go look." So I went and looked. I was like, "Yeah, it's in the garage." He said, "Okay, I'll call you back." And then he called me back and found out that somebody had called the police and reported that I was in this junkyard, thought I had been kidnapped or my bike had been stolen. And there's a big news article on it. Traveling biker, a fan calls police, traveling biker, something like that. If you Google it, it's there.
Holy cow. Man, that'd be something to wake up to. Holy smokes.
And that was Ace from the Combat Vets Motorcycle. So yes, I do a lot with combat vets. That's a long answer to a simple question.
Awesome. All right. So, and actually, you've broken quite a few Guinness World Records, haven't you?
I've broken a few. Yeah. Unfortunately, my biggest one got taken from me. I got robbed of it. I still broke the record. I don't care what they put in the book. But the most miles in a single country in a single journey, my trip to all them Harley Davidson dealerships was 88,000 miles.
Wow.
Which is still higher than the record they've got in there. But because I got hit by a car, a bunch of, I don't even understand it, to be honest. So I can't very well explain it, but they robbed me of it.
Yeah. It's just a piece of paper. You know what you did.
I know what I did. I got it documented on video.
Right. So speaking of all these miles, so you've done multiple cross-country trips. So what have you learned about yourself from doing all these trips?
so much. So much. I don't even think I knew who I was before I went out on the road. Uh, I was when I sold everything and went out on the road, I was a heartbroken. Um, I was a mess. And I wrote a book about it. It's called Inside My Helmet. And it tells the story of how I caught my wife cheating on me and how I was miserable in my job. And I was just in a horrible situation in life. And I sold everything and I went on the road. And it documents my first year from working a job to quitting my job to going and living homeless on the road. It documents that first year. And it was what was the question again? I think I got off track. You normally got on screen there for me.
Yeah, let me bring it back up on the screen, and then I'll leave it on there for a second. So, what have you learned about yourself from doing multiple cross country trips?
So that's when I learned. I learned how much I need to be happy, and it's not a lot. And I tell my wife this all the time now, and in my close friends, I say, listen, man, I'm pretty blessed right now. I got two beautiful campgrounds. I've got a great YouTube channel and Facebook, and I've got wonderful sponsors like my friends Law Tigers and so many others. I've got products on the market, signature seats and handlebars, and I'm very blessed. I've got multiple motorcycles, but the reality is, as much as I appreciate all that stuff and I'm enjoying all this stuff, it's not what matters. And I learned that on the road. I learned that I could lose it all and be sleeping in the back corner of one of my garages, and I would be content and I would be happy and I could be myself. And I learned to be happy with who I am as a person and not to need all these things to validate myself. I learned that I don't need to have, because when I left, I sold everything. I had multiple bikes and cars and a pool home in Florida and furniture and an art collection. And I got rid of it all. And I had what I could fit on my bike and my dog. And I was a miserable person when I left. And when I stopped, I was a very happy person. And that is what I learned about myself on the road. I learned that I don't need all the things. I learned to accept who I am as a person. And I learned that I love meeting new people.
Yeah, I mean, that takes some balls to sell everything. I mean, obviously you're in a state where you didn't really care all that much, but I mean, taking that trip, going for all that time on the road, you definitely learned some stuff about yourself.
Yeah, it was definitely eye-opening. I learned a lot.
Yeah. So, all right. So getting a phone call during a live stream. Awesome. But we're about halfway through the stream here. So, I want to bring up the fact that BrakeFree sponsored this stream again. So I have a little quick promo video to give you a little more info about that, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
When you're riding on two wheels, there's one rule you can't ignore. If they can't see you, they can't avoid you. That's why we have to do everything we can to be more visible while we're out on the road. In this video, I'm going to unbox and review the BrakeFree Smart Brake Light. Let's talk features for a second. This light is special because it's completely wireless. You don't need to use any apps or connect it via Bluetooth to use it. So how does it work? It has sensors in it so it knows when you're braking or slowing down. This is great because sometimes we use engine braking to slow down. That means we're not using our brakes, so our taillights aren't going on. This will give the motorists behind you a heads up that you're slowing down. It has a rechargeable battery that's supposed to last 8 to 12 hours depending on which mode you have it in. This light is IP65 waterproof and weighs in at 7 ounces, so it's really light. For the light itself, it has 100 LEDs and it's a single one-button operation, so they keep it simple. We have the light all mounted to the helmet, now we have to test it. Let's roll, baby.
Okay guys, we are on the bike. Let's test this bad boy out. Downshifting should illuminated. All right, now I'm slowing down with the brakes. Making a left. Okay, so now we're coming up to the stop sign. We're gonna do a hard stop. Should have blinked. All right, now we're gonna do some head movements to see if this thing's gonna blink or not. They claim that it won't, so we'll move my head up and down, side to side and stuff. All right, now I'm rolling off the throttle. All right, guys, that was the ride test.
As you just saw, this light works exactly as advertised. So what do I think about it? This is a fantastic product. Not only does it look cool, it adds an extra layer of safety.
Free. If you don't have one, this is one of the few products that I will support till I die. Fantastic. And I also have a promo code at checkout. If you use Jogo10, you'll get $10 off your order. So give it a shot if you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that.
Dude, that was a great video.
Thank you. That I snipped that up. I have a full-length review on it on my channel. So if anybody wants to see the full video, go ahead and check it out. And then also, if you guys are enjoying this stream, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And I also do this pretty often, more in the wintertime. And subscribe if you want to see some more of these awesome interviews. All right. So now we will move into question number 7. So since you've been on all these cross-country trips, what are your best tips for somebody that's looking to do this?
My number one tip is don't overplan. You know, I think that some of the best experiences I've had on my motorcycle on a road trip, I never knew were going to happen. It's that time when you stop at that gas station and you talk to a guy who's local who says, "Hey, have you been over here?" Or it's that time you go out to dinner or maybe stop for a whiskey and someone says, you know, "Hey, you know, check this out," or you meet the right people, or, you know, the connections you make with people, you can't predict that stuff. And if you're too committed to a schedule, got your hotels booked 3 nights in advance, then you don't have an opportunity to go stay at this cool place that you stumbled on your way. I think that the number one piece of advice I give to people is don't overplan. Leave yourself some time to be a nomad. Leave yourself some time to be spontaneous. You're always going to be able to find a room. You're always going to be able to find a place to sleep. Yeah, you might have to go a little bit further or ride in some poor weather, but those situations end up being some of your favorite stories, at least some of my favorite stories in the end. So my advice to you is stay spontaneous on the road as much as you can. Often I'm on a tight schedule and I don't get to do that, but I just took a trip to Mexico 2 weeks ago and I did have a chance to do that. I had all the time in the world. I had like 6 days to get from Galveston, Texas to Mexico, just south of Phoenix. So that's what, 1,100 miles? So I had 6 days to go 1,100 miles. Like I stopped and saw everything, man. I stumbled on things. I stumbled on people. Some people welcomed me into their home for a barbecue. I went and spent the night and ate barbecue. I did it all. I did videos on it all every day. But that to me is what traveling is all about.
Yeah. And I think you actually got a, well, you at least got pulled over on your way back, right?
I did. I got a warning, though.
Okay.
I got a warning. It was really kind of I got pulled over, and not because I everybody kept saying on my thing, "Oh, tell them this or tell them that you do charity." I don't ever do that. When I get pulled over, I don't ever say anything other than I'm sorry and there's no excuse and you're 100% right for pulling me over. I never try to talk my way out of it. They've heard everything. They've seen everything. All you're going to do is upset them. So I just take ownership. I own it and I say I'm sorry and you're justified in whatever you do to me. And I hope for mercy. And I got it. But I got pulled over for doing 7 miles over the speed limit.
Oh, man.
I mean, what is that?
That's rookie numbers right there.
Those are rookie numbers. I mean, for the way I ride, I mean, I just couldn't even believe it. I was like, 7 miles. So I got
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, most people are cruising, at least 10 miles over the speed limit.
At least,
If you're,
right?
if you're on a longer trip or something like that, try to
Yeah.
gain a little bit of time. Nothing too wild. He might have been, you might have caught him on a good day. He was having a bad day, and then he talked to you, and then he had a good day.
Maybe.
All right, so let's see what else we got here. So for question number 8, I have another video to lead into this, and it's about. So I'll bring up the question first. So I'm going to ask you, what exactly is the KRiver Campground, and let me show a little short video of kind of what it is, and then you can elaborate on it.
We are at the KRiver Campground, which is a little riverside campground tucked away in the hills of southeast Oklahoma. So we've got canoe outfitting, we've got kayak outfitting, we've got tubed river floats. You can also just park your truck or side by side down on the river and just float and enjoy the day with the cooler if you'd like. But then we've also got ATV trails, a petting zoo, tree houses over the river, glamping tents, a beer garden. It's just, it's a good place to come, hang out, and find like-minded people. It's 100% free for veterans to stay here at the KRiver Campground 7 days a week. And when they get here, they're gonna find what they're looking for. Whether it's peace and quiet and just a river rolling by and just unwinding and being alone, they can get that here. We've got enough land with 100 acres.
If you're a veteran that's looking for somewhere to go, just to get away, to get a break, KRiver is the place for you.
KRiver Campground. I scrounge your channel a little bit, so try not to hit me with a copyright strike if possible.
Good, man.
But as you guys can see from that video, I mean, you got the whole 9 yards over there: cabins, petting zoo, beer garden, all that. So tell us a little bit about the KRiver Campground.
Sure. So when I was living on the road, I spent a lot of time in campgrounds. It was just a cheap, inexpensive way to sleep. I did a lot of stuff behind gas stations and in between buildings and things like that too. Old abandoned fields. But I spent a lot of time in campgrounds, and I loved the atmosphere of a campground. I loved the fact that, you'd go to a hotel and 6 people could be in an elevator this big and nobody says a word to one another. But you go to a campground and people are walking down the road and, hey, where are you from? Where are you going? What are you doing? Hey, we're from here. And you start to get that interaction. And when I was traveling for so long, 5 years on the road full time, I knew that I needed to meet a lot of people. Like I wanted to meet people. I wanted to engage with people, interact with people. So I always said, if I came off the road, I'd get a campground so that way I can meet new people every day, and new people could be coming through and I can have these experiences. And I found the KRiver Campground for sale. It was in pretty rough shape, but I could afford it because it was in pretty rough shape. And I've spent the last 5.5 years just developing it and growing it and turning it into what it is today, which is, pretty nice campground with, I think I've got 13 cabins and about 70 RV spots and the ATV trails and all the amenities. Everything I do, I try to find a way to give back to veterans. So I, said when I get a campground, I'm going to make it so that veterans can stay free in cabins, RVs, tents, whatever they want. And I'm going to put a flagpole on the highest piece of my land that I can. And so I've done both of those. I got my American flag at the entrance up on top of the hill, and I've got free camping for veterans. I've got 2 cabins, disabled veterans cabin with like push button open doors, roll under sinks, roll up ramps, everything you need, roll in showers, everything you need for someone that could be handicapped. And then another veterans cabin that are free 7 days a week for veterans. So I think last year we did like $98,000 in free veteran camping.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely need to get out there and check that place out. I hear
That's
nothing
for
but
you, man.
yeah,
Bring the wife.
I hear nothing but good things about the KRiver Campground, and the fact that you let veterans stay there for free. That's amazing. I mean, and I feel like camping and motorcycles go hand in hand. I grew up camping, and never after I did like a Bun Burner 1500. And there was just something about, we stopped in Milwaukee, just pitched pitch a tent for a few hours, slept on the ground. There's just something about that just feels right. So
I agree.
camping and motorcycles definitely go together. And then you hold an event there every year?
We have several events that go on here. Yep. We've got our two biggest would be the Fast Life Campout, which is like the performance bagger industry. Jace from Fast Life Garage, he hosts that one, and those guys get crazy, crazy wild. They're a little bit younger, It's kind of more of a 30s, 20s crowd. I'm 45, and then my Stubborn American Rally, which is our biggest rally of the year. That one is just all about patriotism and letting go. We do mini bike races. We have a cash prize costume contest. This year we had coleslaw wrestling, which got out of control. We got all different games and competitions and just old school motorcycle rally fun. So this year it's in June. I think it's June 20th through 23rd. Don't quote me on that, though. I'd have to look it up, but this year it's in June. It used to be in October, but we moved it to June now. So we're excited. Weather's just perfect here in June.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you mentioned where exactly is the KRiver Campground?
A little bitty town you've never heard of called Moyers, Oklahoma. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's only one reason. Well, there's not only one reason, but there's not many things in Moyers, Oklahoma, and it's out of the way. It's tucked away in the hills. There's no neighbors, or we get loud or do whatever we want to do, and nobody bothers us.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos of the Stubborn American Rally, and it gets pretty wild, man.
Yeah, don't bring the kids.
Yeah,
Don't bring
it's
the
not
kids.
family friendly.
Not family friendly. Not that my campground is totally, but not that weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so if you guys want to bring the kids to the KRiver, don't do it that weekend.
That's not a weekend I recommend.
Now, on top of the KRiver Campground, you just recently got another campground. Do you want to talk about that one at all?
Sure. In one of my favorite cities of all of America. So when I bought the KRiver, I got what I could afford, and it wasn't in the best location, but it was close to my wife's work, so she could keep her job and she could move in with me. She wasn't my wife at the time. She was just my girlfriend. So it just made sense for this campground. But there's a select few cities across America that I really want to be in or want to be near. And one of them is Eureka Springs, Arkansas. If you've ever been, like Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue is a big rally they have there. Spring Fling's a big rally they have there. There's a couple big rallies there, and it's just real windy. You've heard maybe the Pig Trail Road. It's real windy and mountainous. It's the Ozark Mountains. There's lakes, and it's just beautiful. Very historic town. Old Victorian architecture built into the side of mountains, and they used to think that the waters there were healing. And so it's a little town called Eureka Springs, Arkansas, one of my favorite towns. You may have seen one of my videos called about the Cat House Lounge. That's in Eureka Springs. It's a famous biker bar. And so I got a place there, and it's called the Green Tree Lodge. It's an RV park, and it's got a bunch of jacuzzi cabins and a swimming pool, and it's right in the city limits of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, one of my favorite cities in the world. So this was a huge move for me, and I'm just super excited. I bought it right before winter, so we're going to do some remodeling and some changes over the winter, and we expect to bang out next spring and really have just an astonishing campground. I'm super excited about this place.
Very good. Now, are you gonna do the same thing like the KRiver? You thinking about holding some events and then letting veterans stay there?
So yes and no. Definitely letting veterans stay there. I've got a couple things in the works right now to make that happen. Should be launched here for the new year. And events, no, because the grounds isn't really set up for it the way this is. I don't have, I can fit 3,000 people in here. I got 100 acres. That's 14 acres, which is still quite a bit, but it's mountainous. So a lot of it's like mountainside. It's not really set up for the events there, but the city has so many events, Corvette events and classic car events and zombie crawl events and, every kind of event you can possibly think of that city's constantly holding. So it's more of you can come stay at my park and go to one of the events that's happening across the city. Then we don't really need to hold them on property like we do here because there's nothing else going on around here.
Okay, so this campground is just going to be the chill one for the most part.
It'll be more chill. This one's chill too, though. I mean, if you don't come during an event,
Yeah.
it's super chill here. But yeah, it's just more of a traditional campground RV park. Great location, perfect location on the main drag. And there's so many events that go on in that, Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. I mean, that's like a 300 or 400,000 bike rally.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's 400,000 bikes in the area. I mean, I don't need to do anything on the campground. It's happening all around us.
Right. Yeah.
So there's just so much going on there in that city that I didn't really feel the need to do the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. It'd be a nice place to book if you don't want to be like in the midst of all the rallies and whatnot. So I'll have to check that one out too. I mean, there's so many places that I need to go. Your campgrounds are definitely two of the places that I need to go. That just not enough time, man.
Yeah, well, whenever you get the time, you come on. I got a spot for you, my friend.
All right. All right. So now we'll move into question 9, and then we have a bonus question, and then I'm going to open it up to the chat for Q&A if Adam has a little bit of time.
Sure.
All right. So for question number 9, what do you think the worst experience you've ever had on a motorcycle was?
So this is, I mean, okay. The obvious answer is I got hit by a car, right? And getting hit by a car, I don't think there's anything worse that can happen to you. It was head on. She crossed the yellow line, texting and driving. I had a helicopter ride out. Thought they were going to amputate my leg. It was a bad deal. But that's a boring story. So I'll give you something a little bit more entertaining that happened to me that was pretty bad. So I mentioned earlier that I had that GPS tracker on my bike when I was touring around the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I had found a campground and I set up my tent and got everything going, and it was chilly. So I went to get firewood, and I rode off of my bike to unloaded all my gear, rode off of my bike to go get firewood. Well, that GPS tracker was in my gear that I downloaded. This older lady had tracked me to this campground. And when I came back, she was in my tent, not wearing enough. And it was not a situation that I wanted to happen. It was a horrible situation, and it was completely awkward, and I didn't know how to handle it. And yeah, I was in the middle of the woods. I'm like, how did you even how'd you end up here? It was bad. And the lady's from 2 states away.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
she was just a fan, or?
Yeah. She just decided that I was lonely in the woods and she was going to come give me some company. And I was just like, whoa, this is not okay. First of all, all my stuff's here and you're here with it. Second of all, put some clothes on, would you?
Oh my gosh.
It was horrible. It was not, like I said, it wasn't like it was somebody that I wanted to show up. I mean, that could be a great story, but in this instance, it was not a good story.
So how'd you end up getting her out of there?
I told her she had to go.
Oh,
yeah. Well, it was super awkward and uncomfortable. But I was like, no, this isn't acceptable. And you got to go.
Well, you probably lost a subscriber that day, Adam.
Yeah, I have lost a few. Sometimes you got to draw a line, man. Sometimes it's worth it. Yeah, she got her, she left. She left, and it was amicable. It wasn't too out of control, but whew, that was a bad situation. That was not a good experience.
Did you learn anything from that experience?
I got rid of my GPS tracker the next day. No longer ride with a GPS tracker ever. And every once in a while, somebody like, it'd be really cool if you put a tracker on you when you go down the road. That way we could find you on the highway. I'm like, no, never again.
Yeah, that's going to have to make me rethink doing that, because I did that for my Iron Butt and the Saddle Sore 1500. I never thought about it like that.
Well, your wife is going to cancel that for sure now if you heard this story.
Right.
It's not going to be up to you anymore.
Yeah, no doubt. So, All right, so let's move on into the bonus question. This one wasn't planned, but I'm going to bring it up. So for the bonus question, you said you wanted something tough. If you could only ride one motorcycle for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
My Warhorse,
Oh wow, that wasn't hard at all. Jeez.
without
Yes.
question. That is the only motorcycle I will never get rid of. If I lost everything, I'd have my dad's pickup truck and my Warhorse. That's it. You know what I mean? It That Warhorse means so much to me. It's a 1996 Electric Glide Standard, an old Evo. There's no power. It doesn't have enough power to hurt itself, so it's reliable. It's my bike, man. I love that bike. It's getting rebuilt right now. My buddy Rusty from D&D Exhaust is rebuilding it so I can make it a daily rider again, and that will forever be my most coveted motorcycle for sure.
Now, have you taken that on pretty long trips and stuff like that?
So that's the bike I rode to I rode to every Harley Davidson dealership in America.
Oh,
I put
okay.
88,000 miles in one trip on that bike. It's got right now 400 and oh God, how do I not know this? I totally know what I'm having a brain fart. I'm going to say 430,000 miles on it right now.
Wow.
It might be 428. I can't remember. It's right in there somewhere. But I haven't seen my bike for a while because it's at my buddy Rusty's. Rusty, if you're listening, love to have my bike back, man.
And that's all on one engine, or have you had to replace that engine?
I rebuilt the top end.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of miles, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Mason City Harley Davidson in Mason City, Iowa. They're the ones who rebuilt that top end for me when I was on the road. So, and I got a Baker 6-speed in it now, so that helped a lot.
Okay. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've noticed. So this brings up a good point. I feel like if you just kind of leave your bike stockish, you'll just have like your normal issues, nothing too serious. But once you start cranking all that power into it, changing cams and souping up your engine, that's when everything goes bad.
You really can, especially if it's not done right. I think, what I see is a lot of people try to build their bike piece by piece, and what they're doing is they're making their own recipe, right? Like, sometimes you just got to go by a recipe that's tried and true. And these people will sometimes build these bikes and they'll be like, okay, we're going to throw this cam in, and then we're going to throw this exhaust, and then we're going to throw this tuner, and then and they don't know anything about it, and they don't all maybe perform the best, and you start running into real reliability issues. I have all my bikes built by Rusty from D. Now, he doesn't really do this. So it's not like, I'm trying to send him business. He does it for me because I'm his friend. He will do it at rallies. He sets up and he'll take bikes in and do some of it. But, he gives me the tuner that matches with the right cams, which matches with the right, lifters and the right exhaust, and everything is tried and true, and it's all the right parts, and they go in and put in like the checkmate, and they do all the different parts that make everything work together, and you've got a good recipe that produces good power and gives you reliability. That to me is the way to build power. Now you start getting into these crazy huge, bored out, I mean, you're gonna have you
Right.
can't, you can have a ton of power, but then you lose reliability. Or you can have a good amount of power. I mean, my bike was fast. The one I gave away, that last one at the Convoy, was fast. That was a 120 horsepower bike.
Wow.
But reliable, 20,000
Yeah.
miles, riding every single day, didn't miss a day, and never had an issue. But it was built right. It was the right recipe.
Yeah. Now that you say it that way, it makes complete sense. You can't be using the wrong ingredients and expect, a filet mignon or whatever the heck you make.
Everything listen, I love salmon, but I don't want it in my cereal.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta mix things together that work together. And a lot of times guys start just throwing parts at bikes, and they don't know what works with what, and what's, what complements one another. So, I saw a thing recently, someone did a thing on, what's the best performing exhaust? Well, it's hard to say because if you're just using the same cam, the same lifters, that might perform better with exhaust A. But if you had this cam and this lifters, it might perform better with exhaust B. So, different parts perform differently depending on what they're paired with. So, what's the best exhaust for this cam and this tuner and this lifter may be one thing. And I'm not a mechanic, okay? I'm regurgitating what I've learned from other people. I'm not by any means claiming to be a mechanic. But if you just take, you gotta pair the parts together with stuff that works for those parts. That's what I've learned.
Right. Yeah. With me getting that new CVO, I think I'm not really going to mess with it all that much because I mean it already has 100 and almost 120 horse and like I don't remember the numbers, but same amount of torque. I mean, just slap some pipes on it, some bars. We're good to go.
Rip it, man! So cool. I can't believe you got that bike.
I can't either. I can't believe I'm still married either. So,
well, that's a sign of a good woman, my friend.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife for not divorcing me after I got that. She was pretty silent there for the first hour after I got home, but we worked it out.
Good.
All right, guys. So we're gonna open this up for Q&A. So go ahead and drop your questions below for Adam in the chat. And while you're in the chat there, make sure you hit that like button. Push this stream out to some other people. And if you're enjoying this, make sure you subscribe. And make sure you subscribe to Adam's channel if you're already not. I mean, he puts out some great content.
Thanks, man.
No problem, man. All right, so let's see here. In the comments, I had one from Melissa McDonald. She said link ? I don't know what she was.
I think maybe she's talking about your brake thing for your helmet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the BrakeFree light, all the info's in the description section of this stream. So I even have the link in there so you don't even have to worry about typing in the promo code if you're interested. All right, let's see. Man, there's so many comments here. I don't want to miss anybody. Let's see here. Russell McDonald said 1,100-mile ride to get there from Ohio. I am game if you are just got to clear it with the boss. I think he's talked about going to the KRiver.
All right.
We shall see. Yeah. Let's see. Aaron Brown says, can't wait for the Stubborn American Rally at the KRiver Campground. Oh, there's the dates.
Yeah, 620, 623. I got it right, man. I didn't know if I would or not.
My wife said, you better take me with you. Haha. Let's see. All right. We're getting towards the bottom here. Question. There we go. Yeah. Do me a favor, guys. If you have a question, put in all caps question so it's easy to find. All right. So question, will you ride the warehouse on the next convoy?
Warhorse.
Oh.
Is that?
I'm sorry.
Sarah Buckle. I wonder if that's one of the Canadians who rode with me. I'm telling you, man, those people were so awesome. If she was, so it's Sarah and Dave Buckle. So I don't know if that's her or not, but yeah, those people were just amazing. The question, will I ride it? No, I will not. And the reason for that is because my goal is whatever I ride on that next convoy is to give that motorcycle away to one random person who showed up. No, again, no purchase, nothing. Don't donate if you want to. Don't if you don't want to. If you show up and support and ride with me and just support the cause, even with just your presence, you get entered to win. And I want to give that bike away, and it ain't going to be my Warhorse. So no, I won't. And if it is Sarah Buckle, hi, how you doing? I miss you guys so much. Y'all were such a blessing to the convoy as a whole.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with the guy that you gave the bike away to?
No, I haven't heard from him since I gave it to him, which, is really weird. I heard he was maybe at the Stubborn American Rally last year, but I didn't see him if he was. But it was such a cool experience giving him that bike too in Milwaukee, because it was just like, I was on stage and we called the name and he happened to be there. And he's like, okay, awesome. What do I do? I'm like, well, you come over to this table with me. I got the title with me. And I just signed it over to him. I said, but my luggage is still on it, so you got to follow me over to my hotel. So he followed me to my hotel. I unloaded my luggage. I gave him the keys. I said, I'll see you later. He's like,
Well,
I'm like, yeah, man, you got yourself I probably about 15 grand into that bike. So it's probably a
yeah,
$40,000 bike.
yeah, you put a lot of stuff into that thing, man.
Yeah.
You had to, is it for going all those miles?
It definitely had the right parts. It was so comfortable. I wish I could have that bike back.
Yeah. Box Stank says only 400,000 miles. Do you even ride? LOL.
Well, I think about riding a lot. Can I count those miles?
Yeah. All right, let's see. Here we go. So this is what a name. P and L and R and R. Hello, Adam. This is Lori Pick from MD. Hope you and Ashley are doing well.
Oh, thank you, Lori. We're doing good. She's still at work.
Lee Sturgis says, what's the best tires you used during the 88,000 miles?
So, such a good question. And I have a disappointing answer for you. I really don't know. I tried so many different tires and I lost track of tracking miles on them. And I really didn't ever come up with this is something I should really put more effort into. So I really just don't have a solid answer. A lot of times I just put the factory tires back on, but I should have an answer. It's embarrassing. I should have an answer, but I just don't. Don't.
It's all right. I mean, if you think about it, it's almost a crapshoot as long as you're not putting like, $50 tires on there. I mean, you see all these forums, people are diehard about Dunlops, but another person diehard for Bridgestones, and
yeah,
it's different experiences for everybody.
I did run a Shinko one time, and I won't run those anymore.
Really?
On a street bike. Yeah, I had horrible luck with my Shinko. So
okay,
I'll say that. Yeah,
and see, that's different for me. I've ran Shinkos a few times, and I enjoy them. So it's just
okay. When I ran a Shinko, it was the cheapest Shinko they made, and it was in 2014.
They've come a little bit better now. They actually released a new tire their old one was the 777. Now they got the 999. It's supposed to last a lot longer and still be sticky. So we'll see.
Mine was like the vintage looking one.
Oh, God.
It had like the zigzag patterns on
it. Yeah.
It wasn't a quality tire. It was a cheap tire. It was the cheapest one I could find because I couldn't afford any different.
All right, let's see. Okay, so Russell had the same questions. We got that one. Weston, I think he's asking you. You get the new derby cover on? Did he send you a derby cover?
Yes. No, I have not put any derby cover on anything. I have been less than. Yeah,
busy guy.
No, I have not yet, but thank you. And what a good dude, man. If you don't follow him, he's got a YouTube channel too. He's a veteran, legit dude, legit bike builder. Like, I always have a smile on my face when I show up somewhere and he's standing there. I'm like, right, man. So yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, I actually hit him up for my derby cover. I just got mine like a week ago. Fantastic, man. I haven't put it on yet, but it's winter now, so I'll have some time to slap it on. George Latham says, if your wife gets mad by a motorcycle, then she'll be mad and you will have a motorcycle.
Good one, George. That's the truth.
Not wrong. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, P&L and R says, what are your plans for Christmas?
I'm just going to be at the KRiver Campground. We do Christmas here, and we enjoy it. Just family time and downtime. And, I've been on the road for about 6 months out of this year. And so this next month, I'm just trying to spend some family time, work on some stuff around the campground that I like to put my hands in the dirt when I get a chance because I, spend so much time on social media and traveling that when I get home, I just like to pick a project outside, and I'm up from sun up to sundown doing project. In fact, my newest video is going to be coming out here soon, and it's going to be about a project that I'm doing here for my family for Christmas with my own two hands. So
awesome.
I've been working till sundown every day. So hopefully I'll get it done here soon.
Yeah. Boxstang says, isn't it just perfect that a guy who rides to benefit the military is being interviewed by a member of our military?
Amen, brother.
Perfect recipe.
It is a perfect recipe, man. And this is a great opportunity, Joe, to tell you thank you for my freedom, brother.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything that you do too, man.
You know, I had coined a little statement, and it says, if you did not serve in the military, I did not. It goes, if you did not serve in the military, find time to serve those who did. And that's exactly what I try to do with my life every day, my friend.
Awesome quote right there. Lee Sturgis says, what's your favorite state to ride in?
Great question. I would answer that question with a question. I would say, what month?
You're right.
Because you know, I love the Northwest for both weeks of the good weather. If I had to pick just one state, not to dance around your question, if I had to pick just one state, and it would be year round, like I would live there and just ride my state, I'd probably pick Arizona. Just because you got mountains, you got desert, you got, you know, everything in between. California's great riding too, but I'd probably go with Arizona myself.
So far, my favorite area has been like North Carolina and Tennessee, but I haven't really left the East Coast.
But the problem with those, the only reason I didn't go those is because it's just the West Coast of the Carolinas and the East Coast of Tennessee.
Yeah.
The rest of the states there aren't real great riding, either one of them. So, you know, I try to, so if I have to pick an entire state, I'm going to go in Arizona.
Fair enough. I definitely want to get out west and see those roads, because I've been to Tennessee, North Carolina, West Virginia, everything.
Yeah.
I need to get out a little more. Let's see. P&L and R&R. Did anything happen with person that hit you on Warhorse?
So no, not really. A ticket. They had $25,000, the minimum amount of insurance. And I had I had just dropped my insurance because I was homeless and living on the road, and I was broke, and it was either start cutting expenses or quit riding, and I wanted to finish my ride. So I had dropped my insurance. So I had no insurance. They had the general with like $24,000 of insurance, and my helicopter ride was $27,000, not to mention what was going on in the hospital. So it was a horrible situation for me, and no, nothing that I know of ever happened to them other than a ticket.
Gotcha. And I think this might be the Sarah Buckle, you know. It says,
it is my Sarah Buckle. All right. Yeah, she's amazing.
Jimmy the Bull says, how many miles does the Warhorse have? You already answered that. Around 430,000. Let's see. Getting towards the bottom here. Lee Sturgis, what's your Oh, I already got that one. I don't know why these comments are showing up twice unless they're typing it in twice. Let's see. Riding and wrenching. He's our neighborhood heckler for all my streams. He says, please tell Joe why the Navy is better than the Army. You don't have to answer that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a tough one for me, but you know, I have heard some jokes, but I'll leave those alone because I was in neither service, so I don't really feel appropriate joking about either one.
That's fair. Riding and wrenching, he tries to get all the jabs in. He's prior Navy, I'm Army, so
yeah,
he likes to poke at me a little bit. All right, almost down. Oh, he says we need an answer, but all right. So the chat's slowing down. I want to respect your time, and I want to appreciate you coming on. But before you go, why don't you go ahead and just shout out all your social media, where people can find you, your website and whatnot?
Sure. Everything is just Adam Sandoval. So it's adamsandoval.com is my website, and that will get you to all of my social media channels. It's just Adam Sandoval official on Instagram, Adam Sandoval on YouTube, Adam Sandoval Scootin' America on Facebook. But again, just go to adamsandoval.com and you can get to all my website links there. All my social media links are right there on my website.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. It's been an awesome time. Great interview. I think everybody liked it, and I know you're a busy guy, so it means a lot that you came on.
Hey, man, I'm not busy at all. My family just got home, so the timing is perfect. I get to go spend some family time. And thank you for having me on, man. And what a great job you did on this whole thing. Really class act, man, for sure. And again, thank you for my freedom, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. You have yourself a
All
great
right.
day.
All right, guys. If you're watching this on the replay, I'll put a playlist right here to watch all my other prior live streams. And I want to thank you all for showing up. And as always, this is Jogo with Jogo Motorcycle Adventures. And until next time, ride on.